Happy Friday. Happy Father's Day weekend as well to all the dads out there, no matter what aspect you fall into that. I consider, plants can be babies, animals, obviously kids. Like there's a lot of it. Happy Father's Day, regardless to all of that. And a quick shout out again to Ashley Lana and Lullaby, the Fear podcast on Apple on Spotify. I listen to it on Good Pods, Instagram page for it. Like it's a really good one. If you like the true crime stuff and hear those stories with all kinds of details, check it out. It's good. I enjoy it. I know you'll enjoy it. Now there's the shout out. And I can move on to the subject at hand, which really is, climate stuff and temperatures. And no one's going to deny that they're going up. I mean, that's obviously proven to be true. I mean, it's not like the world's going to end right now because of it, but that is happening. And all the things that a lot of these people want to do doesn't actually do anything to help any of that cause. And yet, for some reason, so many people, jump right into it and follow along like they think they're helping. And this is the only way, even though their ideas are dumb and very harmful to the planet, which then causes more problems. I really don't understand how people follow along with it. It doesn't make any sense. Just like, why can Daisy not go 3 seconds without being stupid, as you just heard, probably? Why they have to be so dumb and harmful? And the way people treat the environment that are also saying good things about the environment, that they want to save it, just is more destructive and hurts everything more, be it everyone on their side, even though it is blatant and clear as day that it is destructive. They don't care, and they get, oh my god, I'm gonna throw my chair through a wall one of these days, people. But they get all up in our face and tell us that we're wrong and we're crazy and we just want to hurt the world because they're just so blatantly, horrifically ignorant to everything going on in the world. And all the things, the processes that happen, and what how much we need fossil fuels, and the fact that we'll never be able to get rid of them, and how much things like oil and that, how much like products they make, and how much things that it's actually in, which I think will blow people's minds. And there are intelligent ways that we could actually do this to help everything, and I will get to them at the end, as long as my chair doesn't keep creaking. But a lot of things we could do to actually make a difference instead of doing what they're doing, which would actually help, as they're so worried about global warming and ground temperatures rising and water temperatures rising and all that. Like, but yet they're not doing anything to help really in any actual way to save the planet. Don't worry, I'm going to break down all of that. It's actually really clear and obvious. But for some reason, I just get my head taken off all the time. Heaven forbid anyone could just actually talk on the other side. They just attack me. But I got some, ideas here. So, it's going to be a good one. Lots of information. First off, rising temperatures, and all this information comes from climate.gov. Oh, it's their own thing. But combined land and sea rose by an average of 0.13 degrees or 0.08, 0.13 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's get it right. Or 0.08 degrees Celsius since 1880 per decade. And then since 1981, it has been over double that really, at 0.32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0.18 degrees Celsius per decade. So we all know it's happening. It's not world ending. Like I think AOC and Greta and all of them said the world was going to be over by now because it was just going to burn up and go away. You guys missed on that one. Sorry. But, there's things we could do. Just look at, granted, there were years where we couldn't, track a lot of stuff and all that, but a lot of things we can do. And, to actually help it out as a country, as a world. But China, they said they're not going down at all for like over a decade. So, and look how much stuff they're, fossil fuels they're burning. We can stop everything. We're still not going to help because of the way they are. And a lot of other countries too. And, I got some ideas as to how we could actually do it, which I think would actually help. That makes sense. No one makes any sense, but they have some ideas too. And their ideas to save everything absolutely sucks. And I'm going to start off first, about, he's stopping the pipeline. And no matter what, all these land leases, millions of acres of them are going away. So, yeah, that is a real thing. And why shut down the pipeline? And we heard his energy lady, Granholm, heard Walter complain about her enough on Wednesdays. But she has said she wanted to try to shut down Line 5 in Michigan, even though it's clean. There's no emissions from it. Bada boom, it goes right through. Instead, they want to get it from countries, because, our problem, we need to get more going to like the Saudis and Russians, which burns way dirtier than ours ever could from here. But working with those guys, which are bad actors anyway, to give them money, and hostile regimes that don't like us. And then how much carbon emissions go from the tankers that bring it across the ocean, and how many, then they unload it onto trains and trucks, which then uses more emissions to get it wherever it's going by train, to put it on more trucks probably, which, more emissions and more emissions, way more than a car ever could. We have to shut down the pipeline, which could, goes right through, no emissions, which would actually save millions of pounds of emissions from going into the environment. I just want to make sure I start out saying that. Is, guess what? His Granholm, when she was up in Michigan, talking about shutting down Line 5. I've even heard her say it, mention it a few times since she got in with this administration, which is completely clean. They said they're trying to help, save the planet, but you're blowing millions of pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere by transporting it the way you are, not them, which is my problem with them shutting down the pipelines. If you're trying to save the environment, why are you making us do it by ways that completely destroy, puts out millions of pounds of waste into the air and emissions? No matter what, it's going to happen, but we could do stuff where we could cut way back on that and actually save some things. So it's trying to cut down carbon emissions. This way is putting out way more than anyone's car ever could, which is dumb. It makes no sense. And then we get on to the electric car thing, which is dumb and non-sustainable. I mean, pretty sure when Elon said it, it's probably true. He kind of got, his eye on the market. But let's get to the mining and what the mining does to the planet. And it's amazing. And none of them seem to care. You bring it up and they just get angry. Apparently, like Daisy right now, and why her and Hannah can't sit alone for 8.5 minutes, not even 9 minutes yet, already twice. I don't know how hard it is. Stop messing with each other. Anyway, but the mining, what it does to the planet, everyone tells me I'm crazy, but there's a lot of problems caused by it. Pollutes water sources, increases carbon dioxide emissions, misuses gallons of water, depletes fertile land, causes respiratory issues, creates unsustainable water table reduction, and tampers with the water cycle. From ecojungle.net. And then next information from the Institute for Energy Research.org. Good stuff. 2016, dead fish were seen floating down the Licky River because of toxic chemicals leaking from the Ganzhou Rongda lithium mine. And then cow and yak carcasses also found floating in the river after drinking the contaminated water. And this was the third event in 7 years just from that one. And it was run by China's BYD, one of the planet's largest lithium ion battery suppliers. Mine was closed in 2013 after a second incident, but then reopened because of demand. And then the incident happened again in 2016. Lithium extracting processes use up about 500,000 gallons of water per metric ton of lithium. If we have talking about how, water stuff, that's not a good thing. That's a lot of water, especially in places where they need it. Extraction process. Miners drill a hole in salt flats and pump salty mineral brine into the surface. After multiple months, the water evaporates and leaves behind manganese, potassium, borax, and lithium salts, which are then filtered and placed in another evaporation pool. And after 12 to 18 months of this process, the mixture is filtered enough that lithium carbonate can be extracted. South America's lithium triangle of Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile holds more than half of the world's metals under its salt flats. In Chile's Salar de Atacama uses up 65% of the region's water supply for mining, which then hurts farmers, and then they have to go and find other sources of water so they could actually still live and produce food and all that, which, again, bad thing. And then in Nevada, they found impacts on fish, life, all animal life, as far as 150 miles downstream from a lithium processing operation. That's here in the States. And that's very, very bad as compared to like fracking. It's actually much, cleaner and all that, but, oil bad, contaminating things and all that good, apparently, with all the stuff they put in there. But no one talks about the dangers of that and the recycling problems and all those other things, which everyone has problems with, why there's fields full of them. But, and even better, as we talked about, as everyone made comments about a certain president, he was orange men bad. Like, as they said, like it said China was the problem. And Joe, said that Trump was in China's pocket. Here's a good one. After, he came into office and signed immediately that they were going to switch their whole fleet to electric, and they want to get electric everything. Here's some good stuff for you. China is one of the top 5 stakeholders when it comes to lithium resources on the planet. Tianqi Lithium has controlling interest at 51% of the world's largest lithium reserve in Australia and became the second largest shareholder. Sociedad Química de Minera, which is the largest lithium producer in Chile. Ganfeng Lithium has a long agreement to underwrite all lithium raw material produced by Australia's Mount Mine, which is the world's second biggest high-grade lithium reserve. And did I mention China? That company there, biggest, excuse me, like producers of that one company is biggest producers of lithium-ion batteries on the planet. Just throwing that out there. And then cobalt being mined in Congo by child labor, where China owns 8 of the 14 largest cobalt mines in the country. We're switching to do all this stuff and use all these materials as they bought up all the stocks and everything. So no matter what, they're making all the money, they're making the batteries. Who is really being helped besides China when it comes to all these EVs that they're ordering? Is, the money has to go to China because they own all this stuff, and lithium mines and all that. Who thinks that electric vehicles are somehow better for the environment when all the problems with getting the uranium and then what the mines look like when they're done with them and all that, not good, really isn't, compared to fracking. Like, that's a little thing there. I've seen some lithium mines. Look them up. Big old holes. Who thinks that it's better to do this than fracking? Again, because this is highly questionable when it comes to damage to the environment and what things have actually been proven. There's a lot of things when it comes to fracking. They do have problems sometimes, but have been disproven. As if fracking was that big of a problem, like there wouldn't be any drinking water or anything anywhere. Throwing it out there, this lithium stuff worse for the environment, and it helps China immensely as they bought it all up. But better power ideas by these geniuses that say we need to do all this to go completely green with solar, wind, tide turbines, and again, electric vehicles, which we have seen aren't completely sustainable by themselves. Look at Texas, look at California, look at Texas last year during the ice storm, which normally doesn't happen, obviously. So that was like a freak thing. But California has rolling blackouts, and a lot of companies are warning people of rolling blackouts because they can't maintain the grid. So I don't get how they think that's a good idea. Never get rid of fossil fuels, no matter how much they want to. Sorry, just the way it is. I mean, look at all the things that are used to make components and to keep turbines moving and lubricated and all that. So those are fossil fuels, and oil and stuff, in there, keeping those, grease and all that stuff, keeping those things lubricated and moving. So there you go on that one. And again, they're already having grid issues. So what will electric vehicles do with all those people plugging in their cars to charge them? That's more electricity being used, which then makes power plants have to put out more power, which then causes more strain on the grid, which then regardless causes more fossil fuels to be burned to produce the electricity. Like, if anyone's following along, you can't listen to any of those and argue any of it. It's going to put more strain on an already strained grid in a lot of places and cause more fossil fuels to be burned to produce all the electricity because we'll need more. Yet they don't care and keep pushing it regardless of how many states it's proven to not work. And they just use their words and their base, like Drew and all those other people, just fall right in line and do it no matter how much information you have to disprove it, how much sense you make. They just tell you you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. So you're telling me charging electric vehicles on Norway's strained grid, which is going to cause more electricity to be needed, isn't going to cause more fossil fuels to be burned at them. Like, if everyone had one, it's going to put the grid way through the roof, which is going to be way more fuels burning that than cars driving on the road. Because you're still going to have to, move the stuff by freight and all that, which is putting way more stuff up in there instead of having pipelines going clear across, which burn no things. No matter what, tankers will have to happen. Freighters going across the ocean, sure. And pipelines everywhere else, like, can move it around the rest of the country without any emissions, which could cut all the emissions from the trains and tractor trailers that carry it around. But I'm crazy for saying that. And pipelines are somehow bad. And they never talk about nuclear power plants or micro power plants in any good manner. The only thing you ever hear, even though it's super clean, is meltdowns, which haven't happened in a while. 3 Mile Island, forever ago. Chernobyl, forever ago. And that was, it was an old, USSR technology. It wasn't well maintained. That's what caused all that idiocy, caused that, and the fact it was old technology. And then you look at Fukushima. That was caused by an earthquake and a tsunami, which caused their problems to even happen. And they're very clean and sustainable to include the micro plants, which give out so much, and they're portable. They like fit in the back of a truck. How much energy they could produce that way. And it's very clean. But you never hear them mentioning any of that. It just always has to be wind, solar, wind, solar, wind, solar, all of that. And they do that stuff really, really dumb as well. And they would rather, as you see, clear woodlands for solar farms and do anything actual sustainable and functional. And in case anyone didn't know, you need 6 to 8 acres converted to, a solar farm for every 1 single megawatt of power produced. Last time I checked, those woodlands are more productive for, oxygen, dealing with CO2 emissions, because they convert it into oxygen, keeping temperatures down. Because, the ground is covered, and it's not just solar farms. So the treetop keeps the ground from getting burnt up. That's very obvious. I mean, you don't need a brain to figure that one out. Wildlife can keep their homes, so we don't have to worry about endangering things. Why are these animals moving into the cities and places they normally aren't? Because you keep taking all their homes. Smaller their home gets, or they move into our home. Bada boom. And it does way more damage than good. If you have a brain, you don't really have to think about it all that hard. It's very clear as day. And when I say things like those fields frame freaks out, I'm not complaining about places like Pocono Raceway there in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. That field was cleared already as a campground for people to stay the weekend at. So it was already cleared before they put the solar farm, and then they used the power that they get for that for the track when they need to pump the rest into the local area, which I'm completely okay with, because you have an empty campground, just make everyone go to the other ones. There's a lot of them. Problem solved. And it made, a huge difference. So I'm not complaining about that, because it helps the local area, which takes more, strain off the grid, because they aren't using it, all year. And it was already cleared. They didn't take any Greenland to do it. They put it in an old campground. There's a lot of trees around the track. It's very wooded. Now, here's my common sense solutions to actually help it. And there's some decent ones. But we retrograde government buildings and other buildings like hotels, barracks, and ramps on like military bases. When I say ramps, I mean like where we work on the vehicles, called a ramp, at least on trucks and tanks. And the overhangs that they have where they park everything under so they don't melt, like you put solar panels on top of all of them, just like regular parking garages with solar farms, which they do on some of the newer buildings on Lejeune. big barracks, I believe it's CEB's building, their big barracks and a parking garage at all is covered in solar. Why? Because that solar will pump into this, pump into them, and help put, energy into it instead of, it all being just on fossil fuels to power the electric, to give them electricity like they have the solar farm to help power the stuff, which puts less strain, believe it or not, on the grid, which can't hurt. And there's all kinds of buildings and facilities that can do it. Power companies could put it on all their buildings. Government, they could do that on all of their buildings to help out immensely. Because I would be putting it in there, which means we're using less fuel because they need less electricity, but it's to actually help with emissions and get us away from some fossil fuels, as that's all they want to do. You can do actual forest management, unlike what they do in California and Colorado. Those are the two that are always on fire, but do actual forest management to maybe cut down on those, because think of all the emissions going up and they're burning hundreds and thousands of acres every year. The emissions from that nowhere near help any of it, yet they still do it, which is just mind-boggling to me. And the amount of trees that they say they're putting up to help, like after they burn down and to alleviate things, if you think about it, really doesn't do anything. So how long it takes them to actually be, sustainable trees, and to actually be viable to help with producing oxygen and CO, converting CO2 and all those emissions and everything. Like, it takes so many years for them to be, functional and helping in that situation. So I don't get why anyone makes any arguments about that, because it does take a while for them to be helpful. But if they actually did proper forest management, so all those fires didn't go up, think about, the amount of emissions that wouldn't go up into the sky for that. Because, fires are going to happen no matter what, but you always hear the big ones always seem to be in the same spots. So they obviously are doing something different, because there's very dry places where people do dumb things and they don't lose all kinds of acreage, at least as much as they do. So that would help alleviate a lot of, emissions and stuff burning up into the atmosphere, because, it's not that big forest fires. That plume of smoke isn't good no matter what. You could do that. You could stop clearing woodlands, no matter the size. They do it around here all the time for strip malls. Maybe I have a problem with it, or to build new buildings when there's empty buildings all over the place that I'm sure they could, just take the money to renovate, to do whatever they need to do. And there's enough of those little strip malls already that, are empty. So why are they building new ones? Like, I could say down here, for example, stupid chair, but by me, there's the one that they built on the far side of Home Goods, Ulta, Michael's, and Publix, which has 4 empty units and a Wingstop. That's the only thing in there still after all this time. And they built another one there, which is full. But then they built another one next to a little Walmart, which is thankfully full for, except for I think the restaurant's going to go under. But and then they built another one. Now, a new one on the other side of the little Walmart, which has a clothing store, a vape shop, of course, and a jewelry store so far, even though there's one literally not even, like, maybe a half mile down the road, if that, very strong, if that, not even, that is completely empty except for one spot, and, producing, all the equipment they need and producing concrete and all those things don't help the environment. And why are they clearing things? Like, they cleared trees to put a back entrance into the Publix complex through a walking trail in the woods and all kinds of stuff to put road, which gets really hot, which does not help ground temperatures. How about we just start retrograding buildings that we already have, renovating them, make companies do that, and stop building all these new strip malls when there's all kinds of them that have so many empty spots in them, it's not even funny. I mean, there's empty ones right there. Do that. Or when there's cleared land right there, do it there. Don't clear more land and lay more concrete and asphalt just because you can. Because last time I checked, we need trees, and tree cover keeps the ground cooler, which, big buildings and asphalt and concrete doesn't help the environment at all. Well, let's be smart about it. It's very hard to do, but how about we be smart about that? Stop clearing woodlands for solar farms. Again, 6 to 8 acres for 1 megawatt of power. Last time I checked, those trees could be much more useful for the air and the environment. And they do this really weird thing. They keep the woodland areas cool. Go into the woods, get a thermometer, point it at the ground, see the temperature there, and then go out of the woods a few feet and see where they're getting pounded by the earth and see the difference in the temperature. If we're worried about ground temperatures rising, why do we keep cutting down all kinds of wooded areas to put solar farms or anything else when we need those for oxygen, habitats for animals? And believe it or not, it keeps the ground there and the air there cooler. We're worried about it warming up everything. Why do we keep tearing it all down? It's actually really dumb. The more there is, the cooler everything is. Here's a habitat, again, for animals and all that. Circle of life converts CO2 into oxygen, but we keep tearing it down to lay concrete and asphalt and stuff. And no matter what, the amount we're tearing down to do stuff like this, or how many trees you plant, it's not going to help because it takes so long for them to be viable. It means you're not really helping anything by planting those. How about we just retrograde stuff and stop clearing woodlands for solar farms, and you can just put them on top of buildings that have, no matter what the roof, all ready to help with thing. I mean, we're already buying them all from China anyway. Just saying. And like I keep saying, we planted as many trees as you want, but when you're tearing them down for stuff like that and they're burning down, you can plant as many as you want. It's not going to help. Planted as many trees. Well, it takes them a couple of years, and we're losing way more than that a year. We've got to do better with that. And find plants, like, again, do the hemp game. You can plant, like you get like 3 harvests a year, and they help with all of that. Keep going while you get the trees going, like things like that help with CO2 emissions. And so keep tearing them down, which makes the ground warmer because nothing's covering it to keep it cool. It's dumb. Like, and all that makes so much sense. It's not even funny. Like, I wish it was funny. It isn't funny, but it is with how much sense it makes. And everyone still will argue any of those facts, which I don't understand how you do, because none of them are actually wrong. They would all actually help with ground temperatures and emissions and all kinds of fun things. Taking power off the grid, strain off the grid is better. There's all kinds of things they could do if they actually wanted to, but they don't. They're just going to keep pushing against fracking. Because it's the devil apparently, but lithium mines and all that destroys things and leaves those big holes and everything that leaks and then it's contaminated. Then you can't go there anymore. So it's just useless. It's just a big old burning up hole, which digs into the core, which, by the way, when you go that far down towards the core, it gets hotter because the core is, magma and all that, which then raises the temperature. In case you didn't know. But they're never going to care, even though it's that blatant and makes that much sense. And the ideas aren't sustainable. You know it. I know it. They know it. They just don't care. It doesn't bother them because it won't really affect them as they live in their cushy lifestyle. And there's a lot of people like myself, a lot of you that have really great ideas which would help with it, like all the solar stuff I said and all kinds of things that would actually, help, and that we could all do, which make it very easy. And no matter if there's HOA people or anything involved, like, you could do things to help it out. And so many things people don't even think about it, say they don't care, but these are easy things that we could do to actually make a difference. And if you wanted to make a difference, you wouldn't just actually argue with people that say stuff like this. You would actually listen to them. Because there's a lot better than most of the stuff they're coming up with that is totally destructive. The ground temperature and all that is rising because of global warming. We need to do more lithium mining. Well, the farther down you go, again, it's warmer. It's just mesmerizing. Like, you're wondering, like, all you have to do is think. But I think I have good ideas. Crazy stuff. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening. Again, everyone on Good Pods, keep it up. If you're on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcast, Castbox, Amazon Music, Audible, I appreciate it. Good Pods, again, appreciate it. If you're listening to it on any of them, please follow the Facebook page so you can see everything I share on that, and the followers help. You could rate the show on there too if you have on Good Pods. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, I think. I know you can do it on Spotify, but you can do all those things there. and it helps out immensely. You could subscribe to the YouTube and Rumble channel just because. Like, it only takes a few seconds. Most people are on there and put their stuff on there, especially people on Good Pods. Find it. Click subscribe if you listen to the thing. Find the video, click like, write a few words. That helps out immensely. It's just like ratings and reviews to put stuff on the Facebook page. Yeah, just to get it higher on people's search lists. And I appreciate everyone that does any of it. No matter who you are, no matter how little you support me, I appreciate all of it. And I'm sure everyone, especially people on Good Pods, we all appreciate all that we get from everyone. So make sure you check that out. And one more shout out to Ashley Lana with her show, Lullaby the Fear podcast. Again, it'll suck you in. So listen to that because it's good. And shout out again to everyone for, Father's Day. Enjoy it. Hopefully you get to be with loved ones and have a good time. For all the dads out there, no matter what your, status, kind of dad you are. But I'm going to go there. I'll be back on Monday with some more stuff because, stupid always seems to happen no matter what. So enjoy your week and be good to each other. Again, follow along on everything. Only takes a few seconds, and make sure you share everything out once you're on the Facebook page. It helps out immensely to get it to more eyes and ears to help it grow. Enjoy your weekend. And until Monday, my friends, peace.